The opening scene reveals a dog walking away from his wife after a quarrel. I guess even dogs experience marital dramas. He admires human couples and walks into a building, hoping to find something encouraging, but only meets Shamshir and his son, Diljit, eating at the table. His wife, Kiran, soon comes to join them, forcing him to finish the excess paranthas he prepared for breakfast. What better show of love than force-feeding? Kiran threatens him with the consequence of what will happen if he doesn't finish up the paranthas before she gets back. Shamshir wishes someone could come help him out and recalls how he threatened to eliminate himself in front of the whole family if they didn't marry him to Kiran. Looks like the plan backfired, and he wishes he had followed through with his threat. The dog realizes marriage is not so easy for a human male as well. He goes upstairs to find Daler dancing energetically, and it seems like he's enjoying the music until he walks over to his wife Shalu. Daler begs Shalu to give him a break as he's been dancing for 2 hours. Shalu picks a fight, reminding him of the promise he made to her before they got married. For a moment, Daler regrets making a promise to keep dancing for her for the rest of his life. The dog walks out of Kiran and Daler's room to find the mother of the house, Pratap Kaur, teaching some exercises to a few ladies. One of the women asks when she plans to arrange a marriage for her third daughter, Titli. They ask if she will accept a crooked suitor, and she laughs, referring to her husband who is sitting in a wheelchair among the women. Pratap assures them that her family knows very well how to remove the wings of stubborn men, since the wings of her husband were removed by her. That is an excellent way of describing marriage. After hearing Pratap and all the women laugh wickedly, the dog runs to appease his wife at home because he has seen that the life of a man can be worse than the life of a dog. Shamshir and Daler step out of the house preparing for work. Titli arrives and starts tickling Shamshir, who is working on a bike. He confesses that no matter how much she tickles him, it won't make him laugh, because her sisters have corrupted their laughter software. Titli laughs hard as she listens to them narrate some of the things they have been through at the hands of her sister. Shamshir and Daler watch her leave while laughing. They know that they are suffering, and they feel sorry for the poor man who will marry her. He's about to join their ranks of domesticated, unhappy men. The men get on the bike and head for their workplace. On their way, they can't help but notice a woman is torturing her husband and yelling at him. A newlywed groom passes by in a car, and for a moment they feel like warning him before it's too late for him. However, they bid him good luck instead. Upon arriving at their workplace, Daler gets down, thanking God that they are early today. Their lives seem to be controlled by women because at home, their wives torture them, and at work, their boss Monica is always there to give them trouble. While they are lamenting, Monica arrives at work almost blowing their ears off with her car horn. They grab the bike and quickly park it elsewhere. Monica steps out of her vehicle and yells at them. She reminds them that she's been working at the organization for 15 years, and they have only been doing the same for 3 years. So they have no right to park on her spot. Monica decides to punish them by making them write sorry 501 times. The torture never ends. The men wonder why there's only one form of punishment she always gives them. They walk into the office and take their seats, discussing Monica and all her rants. They then hear one of their colleagues, Priyanka, yelling at her husband on the phone. They sarcastically admit that women can never be wrong, as they cannot find any faults in their wives. Another male colleague joins the conversation as he shares how his wife keeps fighting him in his dreams, even though she passed away 2 years ago. Daler and Shamshir laugh, realizing they don't even know what women want. A young colleague named Puneet walks into the office and shares his invitation cards with everyone present. Shamshir and Daler take it upon themselves to warn him about getting married. They advise him to be patient and rethink his decision, if only he knew what they were going through. In the evening, the men take turns putting on the shawls of another man's wife, and then the other men release their aggression on the person wearing his wife's shawl. Diljit laughs as he watches his father and uncle's silly display. He urges them to return the shawls and pay him for risking his life to procure said shawls. Shamshir wonders if Diljit is his son, or a property dealer, because even Diljit disrespects and gives him no peace. Almost as soon as Diljit leaves, they hear a neighbor, Prem, shouting at his wife. They hail him for being a real man, at least from their perspective, because it's not even up to 15 days since the neighbor moved in, and he has already beaten his wife more than 20 times. For them, he is a real hero who enforces his masculinity. They call Prem, inviting him over for a drink with them. Prem greets them and takes the seat offered to him. Daler and Shamshir plead with him to teach them how they too can overpower their wives, urging him to share some secret methods with them. They share some of their ordeals with their wives, and Prem laughs briefly. He informs them that the mistake started on their wedding night. He believes whoever is the first to scold the other becomes the boss of the marriage. He advises them to get their sister-in-law married to a guy who will scold her on even the tiniest inconvenience, because only until that happens shall men's rule be established in their house. The following morning at the parking lot in Shamshur and Daler's office, they stand there discussing the neighbor's idea the previous night. A young man drives and parks his vehicle at Monica's spot. He is playing with fire. They turn around to watch the drama unfold, but it turns out that for the first time, someone is putting Monica in her place. They excitedly jump in celebration. The men walk inside the office laughing at how Monica's attitude problem got addressed. They find Samardeep Singh, the new guy, inside their office. They walk over to inform him that he just started a fight with the boss of the office. During this, Samardeep receives a call from Monica. Shamshur laughs and hands his emergency quota of sorry notes to him, just in case he needs it, and then wishes him good luck. Samar walks into Monica's office and she begins warning him. Guess what? He yells back at her and requests she allow him to do his job. Monica is dumbfounded as she watches him walk out on her. He exits her office and finds almost all the staff members eavesdropping on his conversation with Monica. He gives Shamshur the sorry notes and walks away. Daler and Shamshur think he's a real atomic bomb as they stare at him in awe. Later, during lunch hour, both men walk over to where he is eating and initiate a conversation, intending to find out if he is a bachelor or married man. They begin pleading with him to come to their rescue and marry their sister-in-law if he is single. They see him as the ideal man to bring peace and order to their home. Daler likens the commotion in their house to the 1971 war between India and Pakistan. They plead for Samar to come to assist them, just like Russia assisted India back then. He thinks they are crazy, so he angrily leaves his meal and walks away from them. On a Sunday, Kiran and Shalu take their husbands shopping with them. The men are tasked with the responsibility of holding all the shopping bags, while their wives continue selecting several clothing items. Shamshur pleads with his son to come assist him with the bags, but Diljit runs to go get his mother. The women come back to their husbands and soon start finding faults. The men feel frustrated since they cannot say a word to their wives, who are lashing out at them. They conclude that they need to find a way to convince Samar to rescue them. As it stands, he's their only savior. Later in the evening, Shamshur and Daler locate Samar's house. They force their way in. When he spots them, he informs them that they need to leave because he's in a relationship with somebody. Before he can finish his statement, Titli arrives in the living room. What a shocker! She covers her face immediately after she sees them, but the men have already seen her face. The men walk over to have a clearer view of her face as they smile in amusement. Moments later, Titli explains how she met and fell in love with Samar. She reveals that she wants to marry him, but she's worried her mother might refuse. The puzzle pieces are falling in the right place. Her brother-in-law promises to assist her in ensuring she marries the man she loves. Samar tells Titli to get them some glasses and snacks so they can drink from the wine her brothers-in-law brought. They watch as Samar soon starts yelling at Titli. They have high hopes, seeing that he's dominating her already. Days later, Samar meets Titli's mother. He matches her attitude and arrogance. The rest of the family sit watching how things will play out, as Samar ensures to communicate his dominance via his body language and responses. Pratap gives a condition that he'll live with his in-laws after the marriage, and Samar also gives a condition that he will do as she says, but no member of his family will be in attendance. What is he up to? Pratap refuses and asks him to leave the house. She watches as he arrogantly makes his way out. To her surprise, Daler and Shamshur are massaging her feet and pleading with her to give Samar a chance. They present to her an opportunity to break his ego, and she's beginning to buy the idea. She finally approves that the marriage preparations can begin. After the wedding ceremony ends, the men, as well as Prem, are chatting. All of them are drunk as they talk about how Samar will handle the women in the house. Samar informs them that Titli asked him to come to meet her by 9 p.m., and it's 40 minutes past that time. He assures them that he will bring order to the house because he has already started doing things according to how he wants them, instead of following Titli's way. Prem points their attention to Titli, who is approaching them, and Shamshur is feeling excited that Samar will put her in her place in the next few minutes. Much to their disappointment, the second Titli orders Samar. He follows behind her, without any resistance as she drags him into the house. What just happened? At the office the next day, Daler and Shamshur ask Samar what happened the previous night. How could their savior be dominated that easily? Samar bows his head and explains that he apologized to Titli. He reveals that he feels as though the lion in him has suddenly lost its liver. The old man working with them laughs and asks them not to blame Samar, because according to him, during the ceremony, all the power of a man gets absorbed by a woman, and it never returns. The men all look hopeless, realizing that there is truly no escape route for them. At home, Samar joins the rest of his brothers-in-law in doing house chores and cutting vegetables. They mock him for acting like a lion when he's just a jackal. They then share the chores with him while they clean up after their father-in-law. Samar receives a call after, and he informs them that he's in trouble because his family found out about his marriage. They will soon be visiting. Later that evening, Samar describes his father, Bakhtawar Singh, and his personality to Prem and his brothers-in-law. He's worried at how insulted his father will feel when he sees his son working like a servant in his in-laws' house. Prem comes up with the idea that Samar should let his father visit, so that hopefully, the man might be able to set things straight. The following day, while Pratap is playing a game with her daughters, the son-in-law tries to explain the kind of person Samar's father is, but she won't listen because she believes no man is unbreakable. Their discussion gets interrupted by a gunshot, and they all start running towards the gate to check out the source of the sound. Alas, Bakhtawar Singh arrives at the house with his wife, Srajit Kaur, and threatens to shoot his son for getting married without his knowledge. Dalar, Shamshar, their wives, and Pratap watch in shock as Bakhtawar Singh raises his gun and orders his son to get into the car. A true masculine figure, or maybe not. Shamshar pleads with him to come inside since it's the first time both families are meeting. After they succeed in convincing him, Bakhtawar Singh orders the ladies to carry his luggage into the house instead of their husbands. Shamshar feels exhilarated seeing the women in their house working for the very first time. A dawn of a new day. At night, Bakhtawar Singh continues dominating. He yells at the women for taking too long to prepare chicken. He threatens to shoot them if they don't hurry up. The sight of his wife and her sisters preparing dinner makes Shamshar laugh heartily. He calls on Kiran, and to his surprise, she runs towards him, answering him with so much respect. Life is good. Bakhtawar Singh makes an example out of his in-laws. The men are excitedly watching their wives do chores, and the women hold grudges and grievances against their husbands, but their father-in-law is there to threaten them. They attempt to run away from home, but they can't get out of the gate before Bakhtawar Singh and his boys arrive dangling his gun. Meanwhile, inside their room, away from the prying eyes of Bakhtawar, the men apologize to their wives for treating them badly. They massage the feet of their women while begging for forgiveness, in a hilarious twist. When Bakhtawar Singh is away from his son's line of sight, he is doing the same thing. He massages his wife's feet, apologizing for treating her the way he did. He pleads with her to stop raising her voice, otherwise their scheme will fail. Looks like he is not different from the rest. She warns him angrily, reminding him she's only keeping quiet because she doesn't want her daughter-in-law to see her father-in-law facing the same fate because it will only make her treat Samar badly. Bakhtawar Singh realizes that Samar's father-in-law has been listening to him. He gets off the bed and begins to run after his in-law, who surprisingly gets out of the wheelchair and uses his feet. Both of them end up in the presence of Samar, Dalar, and Shamshar. Is this a miraculous healing or a secret exposed? The boys ask them to sit down and explain how their father-in-law started walking after being in a wheelchair for a long time. The old man narrates how he got fed up with his wife's attitude and decided to jump from the stairs. Ever since then, he has pretended to lose his ability to walk or talk. Smart man. The boys are beginning to understand that they are all facing the same problems when Samar's father narrates how his wife suddenly changed after he supported her in winning the position of the village head. Shamshar's veins are pumping with hot blood. He tells them that they need to come up with an idea that will stop women's rule and usher in men's rule in the house. The following day, the men remain in the house playing some games and talking about their partners, while the women visit the mall with little Diljit. At one point, Pratap and her girls say things to provoke Samar's mom to reveal her real self. They get home late in the night, and Bakhtawar Singh threatens to shoot them if they don't explain why they are just coming back home. Guess what? Srajit walks towards her husband menacingly and tells him to shoot if he really wants to show how great he is. She takes over and gets the gun from his hand, while the other women smile in satisfaction. They yell at the men to go do their chores or face the consequences. Later, when they are gathered together with Prem, they narrate everything that ensued. Prem laughs so hard at Bakhtawar Singh, who turns out to be a weakling as well. He suggests they go somewhere else without telling their wives, as their absence is the only way to make their women see their value and importance in the house. Would it work? They think about it for some time and then decide to act on it. They grab their bags, including Prem, and head out of the house to nowhere in particular. They roam the street until they find a truck that takes them to some place. The men spend their time dancing and drinking to their freedom until their happy moments get disrupted by their wives, who suddenly show up. Their freedom is short-lived. Titli's mom asks her husband to quit pretending that he can't walk because she has seen for herself that he's been lying. The women have been searching for their husbands for 3 days and have even filed a police complaint. The crowd turns their attention to the family, as the men shut their wives up and express how they truly feel, being treated like servants in their homes. This makes the women quiet down, and they walk away exclaiming that they are out of their minds. The men congratulate themselves for finally speaking up. They cheer and continue their merriment. The following day, they get thrown out of their hotel. Turns out their wives froze their cards. They take their belongings and head back home, but when they get there, the women shun them for abandoning their homes, wives, and responsibilities. They drag their bags outside the gate and suggest staying in Prem's house. Prem, who is outside his house, refuses. He claims that it'll give the wrong idea to his wife and she'll start controlling him just like how Pratap and her girls were able to control their husbands. He suggests they try something else, something that will make their wives feel really jealous. Diljit comes out of their house to see his dad, uncles and grandpas outside enjoying themselves and laughing opposite their house. He calls on his mom, aunts and grandmas to come see their husbands chilling. The ladies walk back in angrily, wondering why they dare to live right in front of them. Both parties concoct their own schemes with an agreement not to let the other party's laughter or anything break their resolve. The men believe that their women will come around by the time they are faced with dishes and other house chores. Unbeknownst to them, the women already have things sorted out. Later that evening, the sound coming from the men's apartment was really loud because they intentionally turned up the volume too high. Diljit serves the women pizza and tells them not to think about the absence of men in the house. Minutes later, someone knocks on the door, and the men assume it must be their wives who have come to beg for their return. Daler opens the door and finds the Punjab police instead. They drag the men out and take them straight to the police station. Their wives watch the show excitedly, and Surjit confesses that she called the police. As the village head, she can't tolerate people being nuisances, not even their husbands. At the police station, the men try to explain all they have been going through to the inspector, hoping he will understand with them. To their surprise, the inspector's wife barges into the station quarreling with her husband for forgetting about their anniversary. She drops the cake on his table and threatens to deal with him before walking out. No man in the town has it easy. The men and other officers quietly watch as the inspector shudders before his wife. It seems as though it is a woman's world indeed. The inspector asks to be certain if the wheelchair trick truly works, because he's also tired of his wife torturing him. He asks the men to take their leave. After all, they are in the same boat, and he understands their plight very well. The next day, the men feel frustrated that they are still doing the same chores that made them leave their wives. They feel even more annoyed that their advisor Prem is playing mobile games, so they contemplate dragging him down with them. Prem interrupts them and warns them not to try anything, pointing out how he can hear them. He brings up another plan to send divorce papers to their wives. He explains that it drives the women to come to beg for forgiveness once they see the divorce papers. In the middle of their conversation, Diljay comes into their apartment as well as a lawyer named Kayla. They are all in shock to be served divorce papers from their wives. Kala begins to cry as he congratulates them because he thinks they are even luckier compared to him, who is going through a lot. The men receive the papers and head to the women's apartment to sort things out because they are not willing to divorce their wives. Pratap welcomes them with the gun in her hand, threatening to shoot if they come closer. They try to convince the women against taking such actions, but their decision has already been made. The men return to their apartment in disappointment, pondering what to do. Looks like the situation has gotten out of hand. They all return to meet Prem, asking why all his ideas flop, or why their wives filed for divorce first. Prem assures them that it'll be fine if they listen to one more of his ideas. He suggests they hire girls to make their wives jealous, and then they will come back to them. They all refuse at first, but after much explanation and a display of conviction from Prem, they decide to try it. The following day, Prem presents to them 3 young ladies who will be the instruments of jealousy. He ushers the ladies to their rooms and informs the men that the ladies will be staying with them, but they are not expected to do anything outside their agreement. They begin their ploy immediately. They get dressed and hold the hands of the ladies, intentionally walking out of the house when their wives are at the gate purchasing some vegetables. Later that evening, the ladies they hired start making a fuss, requesting alcohol even though they are already drunk. The guys feel irritated and refuse to yield to their demands. The ladies attack them and walk outside to sit on the road, demanding that they be given alcohol, or else they won't leave the road. Seeing that Titli, Shalu, and Kiran are watching them, they pretend everything is all right and assure the ladies that they will get the alcohol if they come inside the house. They take their hands and lead them inside, with fake smiles on their faces. The next morning, Prem blames them for getting the girls drunk. The men explain everything that happened the previous night and request that Prem take the ladies away because they've been sleeping for too long and refuse to be awake for more than 2 hours. Prem yells at them for giving up so soon when they have yet to play the big game. He wakes the ladies up and tells them what to do next. Later, Samar takes one of the ladies with him, and they walk towards Titli, who is watering the flowers in their compound. He gives her some sweets and invites her to his wedding, which will be taking place 2 days before their divorce date. Titli accepts it and acts like it will not be an issue for her and her sisters. She watches him leave still with the lady's arm wrapped in his. The set day arrives, and everyone in the ladies' camp attends the celebration at the men's apartment. They steal the show, dancing happily to the amazement of their husbands. They ensure the brides are uncomfortable with their presence before taking their leave. When the party ends, the hired ladies threaten to themselves if Samar, Daler, and Shamshir don't agree to marry them. After some back and forth, they suggest the men pay them 5 lakhs each, or marry them. They do not have the money to pay the girls, so they agree to the marriage the next day. They discuss among themselves and complain that Prem is nowhere to be found. The ladies step out of the room dressed in their wedding attire. They threaten to take the matter to Instagram and even report it to the police if the guys change their minds. The men come running after them and plead with them not to take the matter to the police station. The ladies step outside the house and begin to create a scene, drawing the attention of passers-by. They urge everyone to come see the men who promised them marriage, but have now changed their minds. Talk about a public disgrace. People begin to gather, and the men lose face, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, Titli appears and slaps one of the girls for acting so shamelessly. The wives shut them up, revealing that they didn't fall for their schemes, nor were they jealous because they trusted their husbands. Pratap and Surjit Kaur step in as they throw the money the girls requested at them, asking them to leave already. The girls receive the money smiling and get into their car. Shamshir, Samar, and Daler shamefully return to their homes. They apologize to their wives, and the ladies in turn express their grievances, resulting in them acting the way they did. After all scores have been settled, the men reveal that they need to go deal with Prem for misleading them into almost destroying their marriages. Diljit picks up his baseball bat and offers to go with them. They arrive at Prem's house and find him splitting the money with the girls he hired for them. They confront him, and he confesses that he isn't married, but was just simply talking to the wall all those times. He kept up the pretense because he always got free alcohol whenever they heard him cursing and hurling insults at his imaginary wife. His revelation pisses them off, and they instantly start beating him up for almost ruining their homes. All the while, the girls he hired sneak out of the house. Well, that was one hell of a ride.